Hi, I'm Ellen from the Chili Dog. I'm about to start on the sleeves of my Cereus sweater, but before I do, I need to work out a little math so I know how to evenly place the decrease rounds that will gradually taper and shape my sleeves. Patterns often tell you to evenly space decreases or increases over a certain length, but not all knitters are comfortable with the math involved. So today, instead of actually knitting, we're going to have a quick and painless math lesson to help you solve this basic spacing problem. Let's get started. I'm going to use my sweater sleeve as our example problem. Before I start knitting, I need to know how to evenly space 15 decrease rounds over 16 3/4 inches. The first thing I'm going to do is convert the length into rounds so I can avoid any measuring errors as I'm knitting. I know my gauge is 32 rounds per 4 inches, and I need to figure out how many rounds are in 16 3/4 inches. I can multiply both sides of my equation by 16 3/4 inches. On one side of the equation, 16 3/4 inches cancels itself out. So I just need to use my calculator to multiply 16 3/4 inches by 32 rounds and divide by 4 inches. I calculate that 16 3/4 inches is the same as 134 rounds. If your math doesn't yield a whole number, you would need to round up or down to the nearest whole number because you can't make your knitting a fraction of a row or round high. Now that I know how many rounds I'll be shaping my sleeves over, I think it's helpful to draw a little diagram. I start with a vertical line that represents the 134 rounds of my sleeve where the shaping will occur. Next, I draw my 15 decrease rounds. I don't want a decrease in the first or last round of the sleeve shaping, so I place them in the center of the sleeve. Each red line represents one decrease round. If my sleeve needs to be 134 rounds long, and 15 of those rounds are decrease rounds, I'm left with 119 rounds. But where do they go? Those 119 rounds need to be evenly distributed in the 16 sections before, between, and after my decrease rounds. Which leads to the next question. How many rounds should be in each section? I have 119 rounds that need to be divided into 16 sections, so I should put 7.4375 rounds in each section. Of course, I can't knit fractions of rounds in any section, but this calculation lets me know that every section will be at least 7 rounds long. Some sections will need to have 8 rounds to account for the remaining fraction of a round per section from my calculation. If there are 7 rounds in each of 16 sections, I have successfully placed 112 more of my sleeve shaping rounds. I subtract 112 rounds from 119 rounds and discover that I still have 7 extra rounds that don't have a home yet. That means 7 of my 16 sections are going to be 8 rounds long instead of 7. Where those 7 longer sections occur requires some thought. In some situations, you would want to evenly distribute those longer sections across the entire shaping length. Since I'm working a sweater sleeve, it actually makes more sense for me to have all of the longer 8-round sections at the top of my sleeve, so I can give myself a little extra ease and keep my sleeves as wide as possible for as long as possible. Although math and problem solving is not a favorite task for some knitters, It's often an essential part of creating a hand knit item. I hope you enjoyed today's knitting math lesson. If you did, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If you'd like to practice your knitting math skills in a project, head over to the shop section of thechillydog.com and look for my Cereus sweater. Until we stitch again, happy knitting!